The camera opens with the sound of rushing wind across the open plains. Horses run free under the golden sunset. A voice rises over the scene, calm yet full of tension. This season begins with a wedding that could change everything. Georgie's future, the family's unity, and the heart of Heartland itself. The screen cuts quickly, a glimpse of Georgie in a white dress. Amy looks on with eyes full of questions. Jack holds his breath, his face heavy with silence. This is not just a wedding. This is the start of a storm. The trailer begins with the ranch alive in motion. Strings of lights hang across the barn, flickering against the fading daylight. Guests move around quickly, their faces carrying excitement, but beneath it is something else. Unease, whispers, and unspoken doubt. Georgie stands in front of a mirror, dressed in white, her hands trembling against the fabric of her gown. Her reflection shows a young woman trying to smile, but the weight in her eyes tells another story. She whispers to herself, not out of fear, but out of wonder, asking if this is truly the life she dreamed of. The camera cuts to Amy. She sits quietly, near the stables, stroking a horse's mane. Her face holds a mixture of pride and worry. The narrator's voice rises. Amy has always stood by Georgie. She raised her. She guided her. But will she be able to let her go into a future she cannot control? The screen flashes to Lou. She walks through the decorated barn, speaking quickly to guests, her voice full of control and order. But when the camera lingers on her alone, her face breaks into hesitation. She knows that every choice in this family carries weight. She knows that a wedding does not only unite two hearts, it reshapes every bond around it. Then the music shifts. A low hum, the sound of strings tightening like the pull of emotion. Jack is shown standing outside under the open sky. His hat rests low on his forehead, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He does not speak, but the silence is heavy. The narrator continues. Jack has seen this family face storms before. He knows that joy often comes with pain, and he knows that once Georgie says yes, there is no turning back. The trailer then cuts to a flash of Georgie walking down the aisle. Her steps are slow, steady, but her eyes dart around as if searching for answers. The guests rise. The air is filled with the sound of hushed breaths. The narrator's voice deepens. This is the wedding Heartland never saw coming, a wedding that could bring peace or unleash a wave of hidden truths. The section closes with a single striking image. Georgie reaches the altar, her fiancé, waiting with a smile. But before she speaks, the screen cuts to black, the music stops, and the narrator whispers, and with one word, everything will change. The scene opens with the barn glowing under lantern light. Guests whisper in small circles. Some smile with warmth, others lean in close, their words sharp with doubt. The wedding feels beautiful on the surface, yet tension moves like a shadow through every corner of the ranch. Amy steps into the barn, her boots quiet against the wooden floor. Her eyes fall on Georgie, and for a brief moment the years between them come rushing back. From the little girl who rode wild horses to the woman standing at the altar, Amy feels pride, but her chest tightens with fear. She whispers to herself, almost as if trying to believe it. She's ready. She has to be. The trailer cuts to Lou, rushing past guests, arranging chairs, adjusting flowers, pretending to be calm. Her voice sounds confident as she greets the crowd, but the camera lingers on her face when no one is watching. Her eyes carry questions she cannot answer. Will this wedding secure Georgie's happiness? Or will it pull the family into another storm of choices they are not ready to face? Then comes Jack. The screen shifts to him outside, sitting quietly near the corral. The camera stays close on his weathered hands, slowly gripping the arm of his chair. His silence speaks louder than words. The narrator's voice deepens. Jack has lived long enough to know that family joy always carries a price. And as he watches Georgie walk toward her new life, he wonders what that price will be. Music rises, low and heavy, almost like thunder. The trailer flashes quickly, Georgie holding her fiancé's hand. Amy's eyes brimming with tears. Lou's voice cutting through the noise, telling everyone to take their seats. Each image is filled with beauty, but beneath it, an invisible weight grows. Then, a sudden shift. A guest rises from the back row, their expression unreadable. The crowd turns. The camera zooms in, capturing the silence. The narrator's voice sharpens. Every wedding holds secrets. Every promise hides a truth. And when the truth surfaces, hearts will be tested. Georgie looks toward the guest, her face pale. For a second, the ranch feels frozen. Horses outside, neigh in the distance, almost as if sensing the storm that is about to break. The music cuts, leaving only the sound of Georgie's breath. The narrator closes this section with a voice steady and haunting. This family has faced loss, love, and change, but nothing will prepare them for what happens next. The barn is filled with the sound of quiet whispers, but all attention is fixed on Georgie as she stands at the altar. Her smile flickers, not from nerves, but from something she feels in the air. She senses that something is not right. The camera moves to Amy, who leans forward in her chair, her eyes searching Georgie's face. Amy knows that look, the same look Georgie had when she faced her first wild horse. Courage on the outside, fear hidden deep inside. The narrator's voice carries steady. Every family carries memories they try to forget. But memories have a way of returning when the stakes are highest. The trailer cuts to a shot of Lou moving through the guests. She notices the uneasy stares, the way people turn to each other with hushed voices. Lou stops, her hand tightening on the back of a chair. She looks toward Jack, and for the first time she sees the storm in his eyes. Jack rises slowly. The camera follows as he steps into the barn, his boots striking the wooden floor with weight. His voice is not heard, but his presence alone silences the crowd. The narrator continues. Jack has carried secrets longer than most will ever live, and now, with Georgie's future in front of him, he knows silence may no longer protect the family. The scene shifts quickly. The fiancé's family appears, their faces polished with smiles that do not reach their eyes. A close-up shows a hand clenched tightly, a glance exchanged that hints at a story unspoken. The music builds, faster, heavier. Georgie looks back at Amy. Her lips part as if asking for help, but she cannot speak the words. Amy's hand presses against her chest, torn between standing up or staying silent. Then a voice breaks the moment. A guest stands, calling out Georgie's name. The camera cuts sharply, the music drops, and the air fills with tension. The narrator's voice hardens. Not everyone came to bless this wedding. Some came to stop it. Georgie's face drains of color. The screen flashes with images. Amy pulling Lou aside, Jack stepping closer to the aisle, Georgie turning in shock. Horses outside kick against their stalls as if they sense the family's breaking point. The trailer shows Georgie's hands trembling as she holds her bouquet. One petal falls to the ground, caught in slow motion. The narrator whispers, low and haunting. In one moment, the truth begins to rise. And when it does, the family will never see Georgie the same way again. The section ends with a sudden cut to black. Only the sound of a heartbeat fills the silence, slow at first, then faster, leaving the audience breathless for what comes next. The barn doors swing open with a heavy creak. Cold air rushes inside, pushing through the crowd. Everyone turns as another figure steps forward, their footsteps echoing against the wood. The camera closes in on Georgie's face, her eyes wide, with fear and confusion. The narrator's voice cuts through like thunder. Every wedding begins with a promise, but not every promise is built on truth. The music shifts into a pounding rhythm, drums beating like a racing heart. Amy stands quickly, her hand reaching out, her voice cracking as she calls Georgie's name. Lou pushes past guests, her face set with urgency, as if she knows something must be said before it is too late. Jack lowers his head, then lifts it. With resolve, his jaw tight, his eyes filled with the weight of generations. The trailer flashes with rapid images. Georgie's fiancé turning, his smile faltering as the newcomer approaches. Guests whispering in panic. Horses outside rearing against their fences, hooves striking the ground as if they feel the tension tearing the air apart. Then the camera lingers on Georgie, standing frozen in her gown. She looks down at her hands, the bouquet trembling, petals scattering across the floor. A tear slips down her cheek, her lips trembling with words she cannot say. The narrator lowers his voice to a sharp whisper. One choice will decide the future of the ranch, the bond of this family, and the path of Georgie's heart. Music rises higher, violins screaming, drums rolling. Lou shouts across the barn. Amy steps closer to Georgie. Jack raises his hand to silence the crowd. The tension stretches until it feels unbearable. The trailer then cuts to black. The silence is broken by the sound of Georgie's voice, quiet yet shaking. I don't know if I can do this. The screen bursts open, again with flashes of chaos. Georgie running down the aisle, Amy chasing after her, Lou holding Jack back as he tries to follow. The fiancé standing in shock, his face twisting with anger and disbelief. Guests rising in confusion, their voices blurring into noise. The narrator speaks with finality, his voice strong and haunting. This is not just a wedding. This is a turning point. And when the truth is revealed, Heartland will never be the same again. The final image freezes on Georgie standing in the middle of the barn, torn between her family and her future. Her tears glisten under the lantern light. Her voice echoes softly, almost swallowed by the darkness. What if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life? The trailer ends with the words across the screen. Heartland Season 19. Episode 1. Georgie gets married coming soon. The barn is no longer filled with celebration. The air is heavy, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. Georgie stands in the center, her gown glowing in the lantern light, but her spirit feels crushed under the weight of her own doubt. Guests shift uncomfortably, their smiles gone, their voices hushed. The wedding that began with joy now trembles on the edge of collapse. Amy rushes to her side, her hand gripping Georgie's arm. Her voice is firm, yet her eyes glisten with tears. She whispers that it is all right, that sometimes the bravest choice is not to go forward but to step back. Georgie looks at her, her lips quivering, her heart pulled in two directions. Lou steps forward, her heels clicking against the wooden floor. She faces the guests, her tone steady, but her face reveals the storm raging inside her. She knows the ranch has survived heartbreak before, but she also knows that Georgie's choice will echo for years to come. Lou looks at Amy, then at Jack, searching for guidance that no one can give. The camera shifts to Jack, standing tall yet weary. His voice finally breaks through the silence. He tells Georgie that love is not about ceremony or vows spoken in front of a crowd. Love is about trust, and trust cannot survive if it is built on fear. His words carry the weight of a lifetime, and the barn grows still as every guest listens. The fiancé steps closer, his hand reaching for Georgie, his eyes pleading. He promises her that everything will be fine, that together they can face any challenge. But his words feel thin against the heaviness of the moment. The narrator's voice cuts through, sharp and steady. A wedding can bind two hearts, but when truth is questioned, the bond begins to break. Music swells again, not joyful but dark, strings drawn with tension. The trailer flashes with sharp images. Georgie pulling her hand away, Amy holding back tears. Lou covering her mouth in shock, Jack lowering his hat as if he already knows what comes next. Guests rise from their seats, some gasping, some leaving in silence. Georgie takes a step back from the altar. Her bouquet falls from her hands, scattering flowers across the wooden floor. Her breathing is heavy, her voice trembling but clear, as she speaks. I cannot promise a forever when I am not certain of today. The barn erupts in whispers. The fiancé's face twists with hurt and disbelief. Amy moves closer to protect Georgie. Lou grabs her hand, and Jack places a firm hand on his chest as if to steady his own heart. The narrator closes this section with a voice that lingers like thunder in the distance. In that single moment, Georgie breaks not just a vow but the silence that has haunted this family. And from this choice, a new path will begin, one filled with love, sacrifice, and consequences no one can escape. The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of Georgie's breath echoing softly, steady and unbroken. The barn stands silent after Georgie's words, yet the silence feels louder than thunder. Every guest waits for what comes next, their breaths caught in the thick air. The fiancé steps forward again, his voice sharp this time, demanding to know why Georgie hesitates. His tone shakes the room, and in that moment, the polished image of a perfect union begins to crack. Amy grips Georgie's shoulders, steadying her, whispering that she is not alone. Lou watches from the side, her hands shaking as she realizes that this day will not end with a simple answer. The narrator's voice cuts in, heavy and haunting. When the truth is hidden, love becomes fragile. And when the truth breaks free, everything changes. The camera shifts to Jack, who finally steps forward. His voice is rough, but it carries power. He reveals a secret he has held back, that he never trusted this match, that the fiancé's family has ties to shadows they cannot outrun. The barn erupts in gasps, guests turning to one another, the weight of his words striking like lightning. The fiancé's father rises, his eyes cold, his smile gone. He challenges Jack with a tone that slices through the noise. The two men stand, facing each other, past and present colliding, their silence before broken by decades of mistrust. Georgie turns toward her fiancé, her voice trembling yet clear. She asks if the rumors are true, if the whispers about his family's past are real. The camera holds on his face as he tries to answer, but his silence reveals more than any denial could. Music swells with sharp strings, rising higher, each note more frantic than the last. Amy pulls Georgie back. Lou steps between the families, and Jack holds his ground. Horses outside neigh loudly, their calls piercing the night as if echoing the chaos inside. The narrator's voice deepens, carrying the full weight of the moment. A wedding meant to unite hearts now threatens to divide the ranch, and the truth that surfaces will not only test Georgie, it will shake every bond this family has built. The trailer flashes with rapid images, Georgie crying against Amy's shoulder, Lou shouting for calm, Jack staring down the fiancé's father, the fiancé slamming his hand against the altar. Each shot builds to a fever pitch, the music rolling like a storm about to break. Then silence. Georgie steps into the center of the barn once more. Her face is streaked with tears, her voice steady despite the storm around her. If love is built on lies, then it is not love at all. The trailer cuts to black. A single sound lingers, the echo of a door slamming shut. The barn is alive with chaos. Guests argue in hushed voices, the families stand divided, and Georgie's tears shine in the lantern glow. Amy pulls her close, her voice steady, telling her that she does not need to carry this alone. Lou looks around, her mind racing, knowing this choice could shatter the ranch's future. Jack's face is carved with silence, his eyes fixed on Georgie, his heart breaking yet filled with pride. The music rises again, slow and haunting, as the narrator's voice takes hold. Every story has a turning point, and this moment is where everything changes. The camera cuts to Georgie stepping forward once more, her gown brushing the wooden floor. She looks at her fiancé, her voice shaking yet clear, declaring that she cannot marry a man whose truth she does not know. The words land heavy, shaking the walls of the barn. The fiancé's face darkens with rage and sorrow. His family stiffens, their expressions cold as stone. The guests stand, some rushing toward the doors, others frozen in shock. Horses outside kick wildly, their cries echoing through the night as if the land itself is responding to the storm inside. Georgie. Narrator sharpens his tone, rising with the music. A wedding that was meant to unite now tears apart the bonds of trust. And as Georgie walks away from the altar, she begins a journey that will test the heart of Heartland like never before. Quick flashes burst across the screen. Amy riding her horse through the night, Lou holding papers that reveal hidden secrets, Jack standing under the open sky with tears in his eyes, Georgie running through the barn doors with her gown trailing behind her. The music reaches its peak, then cuts to silence. The screen fades to black. Georgie's voice lingers, soft yet echoing with power. I have to choose my own path. no matter what it costs. The final title card slams onto the screen in bold letters. Heartland Season 19. Episode 1. Georgie. Gets married coming soon. The narrator closes with one last haunting line. Love will be tested, family will be shaken, and nothing will ever be the same.